So we have Blake and Phil. Blake's in the white gi, Phil's in the black gi. They had trained the whole class before this, so they probably rolled for a good 35 minutes before this match start. So give each other a five. And Phil allows himself to be on the bottom, and Blake is looking to pass. So Blake would like to control Phil's legs a little more here to make it easier to pass. Okay, so he'd be past the legs now, and what he really needs to do is get Phil's hips flat on the mat. So he'd like to turn Phil's knees to the ceiling to stop him from getting up. He's trying to drive pressure onto him, but he's not controlling the hips. Okay, so Phil's to his knees. His back's kind of exposed. Let's see what happens. All right, Blake looks to take the back, but he got his hips a little too high before getting hooks. And he's kind of half back, half mount at this point. And looks like he's transitioning to the mount. He's coming up top. Phil grabs a half guard. And Blake's just kind of putting pressure going forward towards Phil's head. Now, he could use his chest to turn Phil down. So, like pushing Phil's top shoulder with the center of his chest to flatten him out. And maybe kind of force a back mount or a back take. But he's hunting the arm. He's being aggressive on that arm. So, yeah, so Phil's able to knock him over. He didn't have that position secured good enough to finish that arm lock. Now, Phil can pass to his right here. Let's see what he does. He looks like he's wide open to pass towards his own right. So Phil's looking to go straight to the mount, so he's moving left instead of right. And, okay, so he's still going. Now, he's kind of in the same position that Blake was in earlier, but if you notice, Phil's chest is a lot lower than Blake's, so he's got better control over the upper body. And he just needs to get his knee past and drive tight to that hip, either connecting with his hip or his knee. And good, he's secured his pass. He's got the pin now. And from here, he just needs to keep his control, keep his composure, stay calm, and just pin with the space. Like, don't give up any space to Blake. So Blake's doing the right thing now. He's starting to work his arms underneath Phil's body. He can use his bridge a little bit more effectively and flare his arms up so that he can get a little bit more space. He really needs to be concerned right now, though, with that arm that's grabbing underneath his head. So Phil's got that grip on the collar, and that's going to allow Phil to control Blake's shoulders a bit by turning his head. So it's going to stop Blake from facing towards him so he can re-guard. Okay, so Phil got a little too heavy towards his head side, and Blake was able to feel the base and kind of just get a little bridge and heave him over. So now he's back to that same position that he went to earlier when he tried to take the back and he got too high. Okay, so kind of the same thing, not quite exactly the same, but he was just too high and didn't have the position secured. And he gets rolled and Phil gets him out. So Phil can pin here and look to force Blake to expose something. Phil's base is plenty good enough to be able to kind of pin and stick this position. So he's looking to hunt the arm now, so that's kind of what he did. And just secure him, keep him flat, don't let him turn. Stay heavy on the top. And from the bottom, Blake just needs to keep his elbows safe. So again, Phil kind of loses the top, and Blake just kind of heaves him over. Again, these guys are exhausted. Now, Phil, get your foot out of there. Good God, that's terrible. That scares the crap out of me. Blake passes over to the other side. Now, Blake is giving up the back control right there because he's hugging the head, and he's kind of in a bad position as far as stopping the back when Phil had his other leg. So right here, just drive that knee heavy to the mat right here, Blake, and just force that mount position. So stick here, make yourself heavy, keep his elbows away from his body so that he can't bridge or push your hips when he bridges. So Phil makes a little space, and Blake's just so exhausted, he just kind of rolls over, and Phil pins from the top. Now again, Blake, you want to be able to get those arms underneath his head and his hip line and bridge and be able to turn. Look at this fella, man. He's just exhausted. Super tired. So hugging that belt isn't going to help a whole lot because you need to create that space. So as long as you're pinning his chest to you, it's harder for you to turn. And Phil steps over for the mount and starts making his pin. All right, so hold your position. Blake, you really want to be able to let go of that belt and start trapping one of his arms or pushing his hips to be able to create some space. You need that space to be able to get your guard back, and you need to be able to trap his arm if you want to be able to roll him over. So, no, cameraman did a terrible job right there. I don't know who that guy was. So Blake, big bridge. Again, you really got to trap that arm and stop him from being able to post and be able to take him over, but still hanging in there, trying. doing what he can do, doing what he knows. No quit for sure. All right, cool. So the round ended, and those guys are exhausted, and everybody just kind of. It almost feels like all the upper belts are like the dads watching the kids fight in the yard. It's kind of hilarious, but good roll between those two, and yeah, we look forward to doing more of these things. It's kind of fun.